All right, in this video, we're gonna talk about why you may wanna use a stand-up desk if the goal is to lose some weight, and best practices and tips to use a stand-up desk, which I get that sounds silly because you think it's a stand-up desk, just stand and use it. But the reality is most people are gonna fatigue in the low back, they end up sitting down and they just don't take advantage of the stand-up desk. So before we do that, let's talk real quickly about the challenges and the problems with sitting. So the big issue when we sit is most people can't maintain this integrity through the pelvis, the shoulders round, and then what they do to make the correction here, because they realize this is not good, they go into lumbar extension to bring their shoulders back. But now if we were to stand up in this position, we've gone into this lumbar extension, these back muscles are gonna be tight and sore, and now the glute is not gonna engage as well. So now when you go into your workout, you're gonna not get as much out of your workouts on some really foundational and valuable exercises like split squats, step ups, and you're just not gonna get as much bang for your buck once that postural distortion takes place. So we wanna avoid that at all costs. Now, even if you manage to sit like this all day, which nobody does, you still have your hip placed in flexion. So this knee or this hip is bent, and now all the tissue, all the fascia is stuck in this position for a really long time. And over the course of hours and hours and weeks on weeks, when you stand up, that's tight. And again, we get pulled into this anterior pelvic position. Same challenge. So we got to break away from that pattern so we have more effective exercises. Additionally, there's going to be a caloric benefit to standing at a desk. Now, it's not massive. When you rest, you burn 1.29 calories. When you sit, you burn 1.34. And then I think it's something like 1.56 if you are standing. So it's not a huge increase. But if you are sitting and fidgeting, you're going to burn 1.96. And then if you are standing and fidgeting, and by fidgeting, we're talking tapping your foot, tapping your feet, you're at 2.46. And then if you walk 1 mile per hour, you're at 3.27 calories per minute. So the benefit of standing is really to try to get into some of these higher calorie burns by using some standing and some fidgeting. We can try to do this by putting on something like binary beats that might encourage some movement. And then the bigger benefit really is you're gonna be more primed to just move in while you're up. So when you have a phone call, now you can take the phone call standing. You can pace. Now you're into the 3.27. If you're walking a little faster, the 4.5 range. Versus if you're sitting, the phone call comes in, you just stay in the seated position. So how do we use a stand-up desk so we don't get fatigued, so we actually stay standing longer, and how do we increase fidgeting to bring the calorie burn up? So what I suggest is a 3-sided box. You can use a yoga block. A shoe box is a really good size if you have a shoe box that you can fill with something. And all we're gonna do is we're just gonna bring a foot up. And what this does is it takes some of the stress off of the lumbar extension that is required. We can switch as we fatigue. We change the height of the box. And the mantra that I want you to carry through is the next position is the best position. This switching of positions is gonna bring down the fatigue, so you'll, on the low back, so you'll actually stand here. But we're also encouraging more fidgeting, so again, the caloric burn goes up. So a 3-sided box. Lastly, I suggest a bar stool sized chair, so then you can actually get into some leaning. Again, you're still gonna be a little bit supported, so there's not gonna be so much stress on the lumbar spine, and then we are likely going to shift and move around, and we can bring that caloric burn up. So that is why we wanna use a stand-up desk. I challenge you to carry the mantra of the next position is the best position in your mind, and just ever so slightly, we're gonna shift throughout the day. Again, it seems really trivial, but if you're somebody who's stuck at a desk for a long period of time, there's gonna be postural ramifications that impact your workout. And more importantly, you have to make up some of that movement, that lack of movement, because there is a massive incongruency of being stuck at a desk all day from what your body's innate expectations of movement are. So, stand-up desk.